Hello, continuing with section 5.2, we saw in the first example in the last video that we can easily find the value of the function, trig function at a given t or at a given real number using our unit circle and our terminal point. But sometimes you may not have that information. So then how will you find out the asked or given function at a certain for a certain value? So here let's look at this example. By the way, here is the notation, special notation of the trig function explained again. I hope everybody now has it clear that how we are supposed to write the sine fx whole square or sine of x whole to the 5 or tangent of x whole to the 10, whatever. So you should know that it's very important that you know the notation. So example 2. Now this is a little bit quite different from what we have done before. So it says find the values of all the trig functions. All the trig functions mean the 6 trig functions of x. So our real number here is, now we are calling it, we are giving it the name x instead of t, which is not a big deal. We can have any name for the real number, and we have to find these values from the given information which is given below. So there's one example. What we are given is that the value of the cosine is equal to -4/5. And another information is that the terminal point lies in the third quadrant. So it means we have a situation that our terminal point is somewhere in this quadrant. What do you know about the point in this quadrant? Well, I hope everyone knows that the x coordinate is negative and the y coordinate is negative. So, keeping that in mind, how will we find these? Well, there are different ways. You will learn in this course to do this type of problem. At this stage, we can use our identities, fundamental identities that we have seen, or the definition of the cosine and sine functions. And so here cosine of x is equal to -4/5. So this is cosine of x is equal to -4/5. This is given, and now I will have to use the Pythagorean identity, sine square x plus cosine square x equal to 1. And plug this value in. So I will get what? Sine square x plus -4/5 whole squared is equal to 1. So this gives me sine square x plus 16/25 is equal to 1, which gives me sine square x equals 1 minus 16/25. I simplify this, I get 9/25. So that sine of x, so now we have sine square x is equal to 9/25. So when I find sin x, right here, sin x will be equal to plus minus 3 over 5. 3 over 5, right? But we cannot have two values. We have to have only one value of sin of x. So which one will it be? Now remember, that is, this information gives us that clue that because the quadrant 3, so the y is negative. So we will say now that sin of x is negative 3 over 5. So you got the value of cosine x, we got the value of sin x. What do we need now? We need the values for the rest of the trig functions. So let me put the sin x value here. Sin x is equal to negative 3 over 5. The next I will find will be tangent. So the tangent of x will be equal to, on the side I'll do some work. So remember, it will be y over this, it will be sine over cosine. Tangent of x is sine over cosine. So sine over cosine means negative 3 over 5 divided by negative 4 over 5. So if you simplify, you'll get 3 over 4. So I'll say tangent of x is equal to 3 over 4. And now secant of x, or you can go backward starting with the reciprocal of tangent, or it's your choice. Secant of x, remember, is the reciprocal of cosine x. So secant of x will be negative 5 over 4. The secant of x will be the reciprocal of sine of x, which will be negative 5 over 3. And the last one, which is cotangent of x, so I will write it over here. Let me move this one. So the cotangent of x is the reciprocal of tangent of x. So it will be 4 over 3. So we have all the values for all 6 trig functions. Now we didn't know the x, we didn't know the real number, but we can still find out the values of all the 6 trig functions related to that real number. Looking at the next example, so it's covering this, so I have to erase. So it says the secant of x is equal to 2 and cosine of x is less than 0. Okay. So the first thing you have to do is figure out where is the terminal point, in which quadrant will be the terminal point, because that will help you decide which function will have negative sign and which function will have positive sign. So think about it. So we have that cosecant of x is equal to 2. We start here, cosecant of x is equal to 2. What can we immediately say from here? If we know cosecant, what function can we immediately get? So if you recall, cosecant of x is a reciprocal of the sine function, or you can say the sine is the reciprocal of the cosecant. So from here we can immediately say that sine of x will be equal to 1/2. Now sine is 1/2, and sine is positive. Where is sine positive? Sine is positive in the first quadrant or in the second quadrant. Okay. So it means we have to be either in the first or in the second quadrant. But then we have the other information is saying that cosine of x is less than 0. When is cosine x less than 0? Remember, cosine x is the x coordinate of the terminal point. So we will cosine of x will be less than 0 in the second quadrant or in the third quadrant. Okay, let me do this different color. So sine will be positive in this quadrant, or if the anywhere on this line, curved line, if my terminal point lies, this we will have the sign will be positive. Now cosine is negative. When is cosine negative? When we are in this or in this. So what overlaps? The second quadrant. So it means our terminal point is in the second quadrant. What does that tell you? Well, second quadrant tells us that the some, basically you should know now which trig function will have a negative sign and which will have a positive sign. Mainly, you need to know the sign of cosine, the SIGN sign of cosine, or sign of and sign of sine function. The rest of them, because we calculate them using the sine and cosine, so they automatically fit. Okay, so we have sine of x is 1/2. So what do we do next? We have to now find, remember the four other, which one can we quickly find? We can quickly find the cosine x using our Pythagorean identity. Now you can use I showed you three forms of the Pythagorean identity. So let me rewrite them over here. I will erase that later. The one was cosine square x plus sine square x is equal to 1. Then I had cosine square x equal to 1 minus sine square x. And the other was sine square x is 1 minus cosine square x. Okay. So we can start with this one as we did in the previous example, or because we know we have to find cosine, so what do you think? We can use this second form. By using that form, I say cosine square x equal to 1 minus sine square x. And so it means cosine square x will be equal to 1 minus 1/2 whole squared. So 1/2 whole squared, or is equal to 1 minus 1/4. Taking the common denominator and simplifying, we end up getting 3/4. So that cosine of x will be equal to plus minus square root of 3/4, which means plus minus square root of 3 divided by 2. But because cosine of x has to be less than 0, when we put here, our cosine of x will be equal to negative square root of 3/2. So now, what will be the change in of x? Change in of x will be sine over cosine, so it will be 1/2 divided by negative square root of 3/2. Which means it is equal to negative 1 over square root of 3, or equal to negative. So we can rationalize, multiply top and bottom by square root of 3, you end up getting negative square root of 3/3. so that, okay, so I want to do this type of work on a side, and then okay, so here I put the values. Tangent of x equals negative square root of 3 over 3. And now you can write the two more function. One was cotangent of x will be, so now in order to write the cotangents of x, we should be using this uh, form of the tangent of x, because it's easier. From there, cotangent of x is just negative square root of 3. If you use this form, the one that we have here, then that it will take a little more work, more time. So be wise to choose. The last one left is secant. So secant of x will be what? So remember, secant of x is 1 over cosine of x. So it means it will be the reciprocal of the cosine, which means it will be equal to negative 2 over square root of 3, which I don't want to write it here. So I go here. Secant of x equals negative 2 over square root of 3. But when we rationalize, we get negative 2 square root of 3 over 3. So these are all the 6 trig function values. Okay, I'll stop here, and then next example in the next video.